Alright, this is Obituary Explained, Part 1. Alright, so this is basically going to be the same as like my Care and Respect Explained series. Where first I'm going to explain the way I'm rhyming all these words together. Then I'm going to explain a little bit of the double entendres and metaphors and the meanings behind it. Obituary is going to be a little different because it has a lot more meaning behind it. But yeah, let's get into it before my phone overheats. Alright, so first I'll do the words. This is a dictionary for my obituary with the assets going to the cemetery. It's a funky, funny life mixed with misery, fixed with a library full with literally anything. My mind unable to keep its memory. It's unstable and earthquake shaky, stable only when ready to take on anything. Any of these things could kill me with ease. No thinking, just a thick soup for the trees, clouding clothing, clogging their leaves, coating and casting for coasting the breeze. A need for the Febreze, for the deed from the bleeding me. A king maybe waiting for the freed me. A seed maybe going from the clean to me. And yeah, that's part 1. Alright, let's get into it. A little bit about the song. It's called Obituary. If you don't know what that is, that's basically like when I die, someone will speak a little bit about, my life, usually like a loved one, like a wife, if I still had a wife by that point, or like, a child or a sibling or a best friend or a parent. Hopefully not a parent. But yeah, that's what an obituary is. So this is like, my obituary, basically. But you'll see by the end that it's a little bit more than just that, right? And so, it's a dictionary. There's a few meanings, but first I'll start off with the, just remember that that's the whole thing. It's my obituary, right? And we'll actually start off with the rhyming. I was getting a little bit ahead of myself because I really like the meaning behind this. But we have, as you can tell, a lot of parts that sort of go in on themselves, but start at the top where there's not that many. So you got, if I can zoom in a little or move in a little, this is a dictionary, so you can sort of hear, the basically that's going to go through at least all of part 1, a little bit of part 2, but this is going to be sort of reoccurring in most of my songs, is the usually it's because like I say with a lot of things, and it's and is, so it just sort of is an easy word to rhyme with. But this is, and then you got which is sort of also reoccurring. You got the coming up with a lot of things, so I just sort of mix that in. But for the most part, for this at least beginning, you got Ari or Uri, really is what I'm going for. So you got this is go together, by itself for now, dictionary. So you got that right there, so it sort of goes in with this is, but then you got the airy, and then shun is sort of by itself. And then for my doesn't really go with anything, but obituary, so you got that coming back in, and then you got the airy. So like dictionary and obituary sort of go really well together. Even though they don't rhyme perfectly, they sound really well together. And then with, so this is what I'm talking about, where you got and then the goes in with the and then assets go with nothing. But you'll see it's sort of the rhyme scheme going in with that, with dictionary and obituary, assets, funky, funny. Going to the, and going to doesn't have anything, but the for the the cemetery. Sem doesn't really go with anything, but the terry goes with obituary and dictionary. Even though terry doesn't go with owary or shunary, the T sort of makes it harsh enough, so it goes together. And then it goes with, and this is again the funky, funny life. So the E sort of goes with, airy, bear, dictionary, obituary, cemetery, funky, funny, but they don't go well enough. But I put double F's together, like funky and funny pretty much sound almost exactly the same. You just got the K right there sort of stopping it, but funky and funny sound similar enough where you can hear, the beginning and the ending basically matching, so your ear sort of just skips over that because it sounds well enough, And then you got life, which I don't know if you noticed, but for like at least this beginning part, you got assets, doesn't go with anything. Life, well, it goes with something further down, but not right here. But I got dictionary, assets, cemetery, life, right? So your mind sort of matches up with it, being like, oh, I'm fine having these parts that don't go together with it because we got other parts that go well enough. And then you got mix going back with this, is. I don't know if you noticed, but like at the beginning of a lot of these sentences, I got the coming in, right? Like this, with, mix, it's, fix, right? And it sort of just keeps your mind like popping in, and it's also just easier to write if you started off with this type of rhyme. Mixed with, and so those are two coming together, and then you got mis, so it's like mixed with misery. And then that you got the uri, cemetery, obituary, dictionary, uri, but you also got that e with the funky and funny. And then you got mixed and fixed rhyme, like they just pretty much perfectly rhyme. And then you got with, so you got mixed with, fixed with, and then you got coming back, but yeah, it works pretty well. Coming back, and then you got library, and that's sort of coming in with the library, and then you got full, a new one coming in, but also with library you got the uri, and got the e, and then you got full with going back in with the mix and the with, literally, and then you got library and literally, they both go and they literally goes with and then you got the uri. Even though there's an L, your mind sort of just skips over that, and then you got anything, so you got that Y coming in, and then things sort of has a in it, so it works. And then you got my going back in with library and life, and then mind, my mind, the M's going together, but then you got the I's going together, and then unable, which sort of goes with the A, right? When I was writing it, I was gonna spell something else, but I was like, unable works better. So I got unable working in there. And you got able going with full, and then two goes with nothing, but then keep. And I couldn't really, as you can tell, I messed it up a little, but keep goes with any. I had the E, and then it goes back with, the with, it, and then memory, which the memory, it is the M, my mind, memory, and then you got the uri, right? I'm trying to keep the uri, but also if I can't, then I want to at least get the E or an ing sound in there. And then you got it's coming back in, and then unstable with unable, right? So you got the O coming in, but you still got the un coming and staying in there, but unstable, unable, sort of keep together well enough. And then you got and, which goes with nothing. Earthquake, so the ache, you'll see that I mix in because earthquake, shaky, right? You got the A coming in a little with the K, and then you got, I don't know if you see it, but unstable, stable, I just took the un from it, but it still keep the stable, so you can sort of keep the bowl in there. And then only with the Y, and then when is sort of going with an n sound, because I'm adding in a little bit of just to keep it in. And then ready with the E, two goes with nothing. Take, earthquake, shaky. And then let's see, you got on going with when, which when you say it by itself, it doesn't sound very rhymey, but when you say it all together, it sounds rhymey. And then anything, again, with the E thing. And then any of these things could kill me with these. Anything and any of these things. Any of these things is pretty much a multi-syllable rhyme. Not exactly, but it works well enough. And then of and on, of course, work together. And then these things, anything, any of these things work very well. Could goes with nothing, but then kill sort of goes with the O sound that I had with the stable, right? And then me with the E, and then with is the I, and then E's, right? And actually, I'll go through this part later, so it's more like, I guess I could go through it. My phone's just really heating up. No goes with nothing, but then we got think, thick, trees, right? E's. And like I said, I really like the I sound, but I also like the so just the, and then you got four right here, but think, thick, clodding, clothing, clogging, coating, casting, coasting, right? You got just multiple at the beginning word rhymes, and then sort of like almost the same word rhymes as well. And then ing is the E sound, so like trees, ing, clodding, clothing, clogging, leaves, trees, breeze, casting, right? All these words have the high E or pretty close to E sound in there. And then you got for, there, which is just basically an sound, right? For, there, for, right? For, from, for, free, right? Fur, or if it's not fur, but it's trying to keep it as fur, right? And then you got the, of, the, on, right? Just, of, the, from, right? And that's all going in. And really right here, you'll see need for the Febreze, right? And then you got the right? Like I said, right? But need for the Febreze, for the deed from the bleeding me, right? King maybe waiting for the freed me. Seed maybe growing from the cleaned me, right? And then, need for thee, Febreze, for thee, or no, need for the Febreze, for the deeding, for the deed from the bleeding me. A king may be waiting for the freed me. A seed may be growing from the cleaned me, right? You got the all going in there, right? And if you just look here, you can sort of see all the rhymes going in, no thinking, right? And that's just how that, like, you can see the rhymes. Like, I sort of explained it real quick because my phone's starting to overheat. But now real quick for the explanation behind it. First, the top, of course, this is a dictionary for my obituary. Dictionary, basically just the explanation, right? This is the word, this is the explanation, right? Like, look up obituary in the dictionary and you can see it basically explaining what it is, right? But also, this sort of describes, like, sort of how I thought about myself at that moment. I'm a dick, I'm a bitch, I'm an ass, I'm a fucker. But I didn't say that all in that way. Instead, I put it in between itself in the background. I'm a dictionary for my obituary with my assets going to the cemetery. I'm a funky, funny life, right? Basically, instead of just saying those words straight up, I sort of put them in the background just for me to think of. I didn't really feel people would take it out, but I wanted to let you know that that's actually what I was thinking of when I was writing it. But then I was also thinking, this is a dictionary, explaining who I am, of my obituary, for my obituary, not of, for my obituary. So this is explaining why I died, my life and how I died, right? With the assets, when you die, your assets go somewhere. All my assets are going to the cemetery. Everything that was of my worth is going into the dirt. And all of those in my worth of that life was going into the dirt. Right? It's a funky, funny life, so it's not all good, but it was funny life mixed with misery. So it wasn't all there, and, it really is, it's a funky, it's messed up, it's not stable, and it was funny, you had a few laughs here, but it was mixed in with misery. It wasn't all fun and joy. Fixed with a library full of literally anything. So, I fixed it with a library, all this stuff, literally anything, like all this information, all this knowledge that I gained, but it was from literally anything. I gained all this information on how a cat meows. Well, that was useful for nothing. My mind unable to keep its memory. Like, what's really the point of learning this stuff? Or more like what I'm talking about memory here is really just like learning from my mistakes. My mind unable to keep its memory. It's unstable and earthquake shaky. So basically, like, I don't got no path to go on. I'm unstable and I'm shaking like an earthquake. Stable only when ready to take on anything. So it seems like the only time that my life had any true route was when I was ready to have confrontation, when I was ready to take on anything. Any of these things could kill me with these. So any of these problems that I'm speaking about, any of the problems that I'm taking on could kill me with these. No thinking. So I'm obviously not thinking. Just a thick soup for the trees. So I'm just ready to be nutrients for a tree, die, hang myself on a tree, clotting clothing, clogging the leaves. So, clotting, like blood clotting clothing. So, a string to hold clothes, clogging their leaves. So obviously hanging from, like, if you have ever seen people that hang strings from clothes to let them dry, take one of those, tie it around my neck for it to stop the blood clotting, clogging their leaves. The trees aren't getting any because it's clogging their leaves, coating, they're coating a casting for coating the breeze. So they're coating the leaves for casting, like they're mold, like think like fire casting for the coasting the breeze. So the breeze will swing me and my blood all over just to coat everything, cast everything. A need for the Febreze. So basically, when things dead or rot, they need Febreze for the deed from the bleeding me. So, I'm bleeding and I'm rotting. So you need something for the deed that I just did. A king maybe waiting for the freed me. So, hey, maybe I'm going to heaven. maybe for the freed me who died, a seed maybe growing from the cleaned me. So maybe when I fell, life came out of my corpse, you know, a new tree was born from the me that's been cleaned out by maggots and worms and flies and everything, right? And so this is just sort of the explanation for this. And of course, you know, you got the like I said, the rhymes, but like that's sort of the story that I'm painting with this, along with just, you know, this is a dictionary explaining, you know, this may be the way I die, or this may be the way I, you know, think this is gonna be how I die. Like this is sort of an explanation of who I think I was, or who I think like they might say when I die this way, right? And like just basically like, man, this is where I am at this point in my life. Just thinking, man, like how bad would it really be? Like if I'm just hanging from a tree, clodding the tree, you know, messing up all this tree. But hey, maybe life will come out of me. Maybe I will go to heaven, you know. Like, hey, but I'm obviously going to leave a piece, like no matter what I want. And all that I have, it's important, it's just going to go into the dirt. You know, I don't really have any assets, but I know that the assets that I have are just going to the cemetery. There's no use for them. And hey, like this is just like the first part, but you'll see a recurring theme in this. I'm sorry that I'm sort of like shaking this. Like I'm not really looking through the camera as much as I should be. I'm looking at this. So I noticed that my hand's sometimes shaking. But yeah, that's obituary part 1 explained.